Alright guys, so I want to share a little secret with you. One of my all-time favorite baits to throw has to be a topwater buzzbait. Now I'll throw a buzzbait pretty much from spring all the way to the late fall. Now if you could crawl on my boat and look through my tackle box, you would notice that I have a ton of different style buzzbaits. I have different colors, different sizes, different props, ones, twos, I have knockers, I have squealers. But I have found over the years a very inexpensive trick that I want to share with you. If you go into your local Walmart, in the dollar bin, you will notice these $1 style buzzbaits. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, these things are a piece of junk. But if you look at it, you can turn this $1 buzzbait into a very nice buzzbait. Now, right out of the packaging, you'll notice that this buzzbait has a very flat propeller. It's no good, the neck's bent wrong, plus the skirting on it isn't very nice. But I'm going to share with you how you can turn one of these $1 buzzbaits into one of these very nice high dollar squealers. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so this is what I do to these buzzbaits. So as you can see, like I was showing you, they are $1 very cheaply made buzzbaits. So what I do first is I'll remove the tag, set that aside. You can kind of pick off all the goop later. But what I start with is I will actually go into taking the tip of where the collar touches that buzzbait, and I'm going to straighten out this collar. So I'll take a pair of pliers and I'll open this up and I'll remove the collar. Then I'll slide the actual propeller off the bait. Now what I do with the bait is I get rid of the skirt. I mean, you can keep the skirt if you'd like, but I'll show you a tip what I do when I remove these skirts. So basically just kind of discard the skirt. Now on this buzzbait, what I like to do is I start right here on this corner. I will take a pair of pliers and I'm going to bend this straight. Now once you have that straight, that original bend that you had in the buzzbait, I'll go up about a 1/4 inch above that and make a new bend. So I'll grab it about here and I'll bend a 90-degree angle in it. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I add a bead to this. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that, but after a while, this wire is very flimsy and it'll allow that bait to allow the spinner to come up over that corner and get stuck. And it's going to happen to you when you make that opportune cast. It's up under the tree and you're going to notice that this thing's hung up. So what I like to do is I take these little beads. Now, you can find these at any kind of fly fishing shop or any kind of craft store. I think Walmart even has them, but they're in plastic. They're just like a little metal bead. So what I do is I'll thread this on the narrow end of the bead here. Thread that onto that corner, and that'll kind of solve that issue of allowing that prop to slide over that corner. Now, for the prop, what I do is I will first take any kind of bends that are in the bait out. And I'll try to form it up as flat as I can. I'll take a pair of pliers and I will go from this corner down at like a 45. And I'll grab a hold of it and I just kind of bend it down. I'll do it again on this side, grab it about the same length, pinch it, and just kind of bend it. Then what I do is I will look down the prop. Just like I was saying, these things are super flat. I grab that prop and I'll bend it, but I also kind of twist. So I'm going to bend it and then twist. Grab this side and I'm going to bend it and just kind of twist. Now that's some sort of modifications that you guys can do on the water, depending on how fast you want your buzzbait to move. If you feel like it's moving too fast, you can kind of tweak that to grab more water. Now what I'll do is the actual parts that touch onto the buzzbait, I will just straighten these pieces to a perfect 90-degree angle, because you'll notice that when they're coming out of that box, they're all bent up. Now towards the back here, I will take my pliers and just kind of use the grooves to make that buzzbait connection real gnarled. So I'll just kind of crimp it around, move it around. I just want to add some texture to that connection, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so if the camera will focus in on that, you can kind of see how I made that real gnarled up. So then I'll take the bell part of the buzzbait and I'll do the same thing. So I'm just going to rotate this around using the teeth of the pliers to kind of make indentations of where these two pieces of metal are going to meet. See if the camera will focus in on that. So then what I do is I'll slide the propeller back onto the bait. I'll take that bell and I'll put it back onto the bar. I will then bend this back down. Now I'm going to bend that all the way around to keep this bell from moving, because you want these two pieces of metal, is that's where you're going to get your squeaking from. Now you don't want this to rotate with it, you want it to be pinned in place. Now you can do this by completely sliding this all the way forward and just having a little bit of slack in there, or you can kind of have a little bit more slop. The biggest thing to these buzzbaits is that when that bass grabs this buzzbait, you want there to be enough distance between here and here that when it grabs it, it has enough to get hooked. Now, these propellers that you get with these $1, you don't really have to worry about it. Some of these other style buzzbaits doesn't have as much distance between the hook and the back of the actual buzzbait. But for these, with the 90-degree angle that I put in them, you don't really have to worry about how much distance that you leave. So what I do then is once I have this bent down, I'll continue bending it, and then I'll grab a bigger pair of pliers and I'll start to crimp it down to where I can get that bell pinched into place. So once that's in place, I'll just kind of crimp it down real tight. I just don't want that bell rotating anywhere with that propeller. So once that's snug in place, I then will take those two pieces of metal and use my pliers to kind of mate them together, because I want 100% contact between these two pieces of metal. That's where you're going to get your squeaks from. Now what I do is I'll add a little bit of flex to there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a swim bait to this. Now, I'm going to show you the different style lures that I add to this. You can add a toad, but for the most part, in the fall, I go with a swim bait. So I'm going to show you how I rig a swim bait on this. Alright, so with these swim baits, you can use any kind. These are a lot of Kytex. These are 3.8s. Now, the Kytex are nice, but they're super, super soft. And when you're threading it over this big ball of lead, they do tend to rip up. Now, with a little bit of help of super glue, it does kind of cure that. But you can go with some of these hollow belly style, and once you're threading it on there, that weight kind of seeds in that hollow belly. But my favorite has to be, if you just go into getting a Strike King style swim bait, this is also a 3.8. You can find these at Walmart. This is in a electric shad style. So what I do then is, if you notice in the slit of the swim bait, if you go to the bottom of that slit and maybe go like 1 or 2 rivets down below there, that's where my exit point is going to be. So I will take my buzz bait and I will just simply thread it down on, trying to keep it as centered as possible. Come out about 2 rivets below. And then this is where those Strike Kings are nice, because when you're jamming that weight onto that swim bait, it kind of stretches over with that durable plastic. It's not ripping it up. And it's super straight. Now, you can do all kinds of different modifications to this. If you're getting too close to the swim bait itself, you can add another little 90-degree bend to it to kind of give yourself a little bit more clearance to that. Some guys like that knocking sound. Sometimes you'll get that blade to kind of touch and you'll get a little bit of a knock to it. But for the most part, that's how I rigged my buzz baits that I buy from Walmart for $1. So please like, comment down below, let me know what you think of this style buzz bait. And if you see this video, go give it a chance and let me know how you do on it. So good luck to you guys, and thanks for watching.